Well, I knew that using a clear shell was going to be basically like hard mode, and it really is. The most difficult thing has been not destroying this case while I'm working on it. So I don't have the perfect way yet, but what I've been doing is just being very careful with the Dremel tool. Like here I've made room for the screen. I've cut down the wall here just like in a normal build in these two 90-degree sections, and the raised section around the screen here on the bottom and the side. And just doing that, I use the Dremel tool very, very carefully and slowly to work it down. And once I got down to like 1 or 2 millimeters left, as far as I dared to go, I grabbed a curved craft blade and did the rest of the scraping to just scrape it down lightly, and I could bring it down even farther, and it also smooths out the rough edge that the Dremel leaves behind, so it looks a lot better from the outside. So that's one thing I've been doing to get rid of all the stuff we don't need. Another thing is, like on the back here, I reused the original shell. That way the finish would look the same. And then to do that, to start to do that anyway, I used this jeweler's saw. This is a great tool. I saw these before, but I never thought to try it. And the blade on here is so thin that when you cut, you can control it really well, and it removes a very small amount of material. So it's a great tool. Now I have this curved back piece that I need to make flat. To start, I'm going to use my heat gun, a couple pieces of glass, a few 2.5 pound weights, and a fancy purple oven mitt before moving on to the next step. So now that the shell is a little bit closer to being flat, I'm going to use the oven. I'm going to set it to 250 degrees for 5 minutes exactly. I tried this on a few other shells and I ruined a few other shells. So if you do a higher temperature or a longer time, you run a really good chance of destroying it, because weird stuff happens to plastic. It shrinks up and it deforms in different ways, and it's really easy to destroy it. So 250 degrees for 5 minutes, and this is what I get. I'm just going to do a little modification to the CM3 Plus module here. Just going to remove these corners so it'll fit in the case. So now it's time to start putting things together. Now I'm going to use this Gorilla Clear epoxy. It worked all right, and I'm sure there's much better things to use. This is just what I have. I used packing tape to create the barriers, and later on I used Captain tape, and I should have just used Captain tape all the way through because that stuff works way better. I used some hot glue to tack the thing in place. I made a mistake too. I should have put the battery and the screen inside before tacking it down to make sure there's enough room. Because later on it turned out there wasn't enough room, and I had to come back and use a bit of material. I kind of balled it up into the shape of a battery, and I put the case together, screwed it all together after everything was epoxied, and put this in place so it would put some pressure on the inside, and used my heat gun to heat up this area here to allow it to expand. It was just barely sunken in a little bit. So that kind of like popped it back out and fixed that up. So this is where I'm sitting now. It's like functionally okay, but it's pretty ugly. I'm not happy with how it looks. Which is okay because I still haven't really put a lot of time into cleaning it up yet. And there's also gonna be some decals on the back here, probably. I'm thinking about doing like Batman ears. So it'll come from here up to a point, kind of where your fingers naturally sit when you're holding it. Something like that. And that will cover up the ugly epoxy stuff. Maybe a strip across here to cover that up too. I don't know. The decals with like general cleanup and stuff like that should help, I hope.